Welcome everyone to our new digitized website. So just so folks know, you will be able to go on the provincialnetwork.ca website and in the core competency section to find this core competency website, or you could just go directly to the website at dscorecomp.com. So what I'm showing you here is the home page for the of the site. And on this page, what you'll see up here on the top is really that introduction to the DS Workforce Initiative. And it gives some information and again, the background around Journey to Belonging. You'll see there's a link here. And when you click on for more information, again, it provides a bit of an introduction. It talks about how we came together, how, again, this is part of a partnership between MCCSS and the provincial network, and really around the connection to Journey to Belonging. And again, just as Indu had indicated, it also talks about the guiding lenses. So really what drove us, what impacted this work. So ensuring that we were looking at approaching this work through an EDI lens, through, again, that lens through Journey to Belonging, ensuring that that the work is person-centered, it's person-directed approaches, and again, the trauma-informed lens. And then here you'll see all the fabulous people that worked on this website. It was definitely a work of passion, and we had a lot of passionate people on the committee that did some fantastic work. So again, here on the website, and as Anne indicated, remember we used to, for those of you that are familiar with the previous core competencies, this was a 3-day training, a 3-day in-class training. So now, and it was really split up into the 3 days. Was the first day was your intro to core competencies, your second day was your coaching, and then your third day was really all about behavioral-based interviewing. So we really took that model and actually created these different modules. So we have up here the intro to core competencies. We have the opportunity to do a self-assessment. We have the coaching section, as well as behavioral-based interviewing. So what I'll do is I'll walk you through each of those sections, and just I wanted to make sure that it's understood that these sections could have different target audiences. So this first section is really around that intro to core competency. And this is for everyone. This is whether you're a student, a family member, an employee, a leader, this module is for you. So again, this is that introduction to the 10 core competencies and those stages of development. So when you go into this section, perfect. The user will the first thing that they'll be asked to do is watch this video. So again, a full day of training has gone down to 17 minutes and a bit of reading. So they would come into this module, they would watch this video, and they would be given the background, some more information, and help them to walk through what's on the rest of this web page. I just wanted to also acknowledge that all of our presenters and all of the videos are folks from the sector. So we had self-advocates involved in the videos. We had staff from across the province. So really, there's some fantastic talent out there, and we've really appreciated everyone's input into this. So again, folks will come in, they'll watch the video. There's also some documents that they could read. Here's a document that, again, outlines the intentions of core competencies, really getting back to the root of it. What is the intention? How does this recognize the professional nature of our work? How do we recruit the right people? How do we provide job enhancement opportunities, and so on? today I just wanted to indicate that today's really, again, it's really for me to walk you through, but you really need to spend the time and go through and read all of the information. So that if I'm going quickly, it's because really it's just a bit of a taste, and then we're asking that you go in and take a bit of a deeper dive. And then here there's a bit of a background. So just getting us back to the roots. So, the core competencies were developed back in 2008 through the DSHR strategy. It talked about all of the previous core competencies. It talked about the support and such. So again, giving you a bit of a peek about the background of the core competencies. Okay. So then coming back to the page, now we have what we call our dictionary. So this has all of our 10 core competencies. And before folks go into the dictionary, again, it gives a bit of a description of that whole model that we've switched to. As Indu indicated, we've gone from levels to growth stages. So essentially, people can move from these growth stages in whatever position they're in. So we go from emerging to evolving to leading to influencing. What we do know, we recognize, is that typically, our direct support professionals that are coming into the field are most likely at this emerging stage, right? So that's one of the things that we recognize. So when we do assessments, we really start at that emerging stage. But again, this is for you to read through to get a really good sense of what those stages look like and how they work. And, we always say as well that this might not necessarily be an exhaustive list, but really it does cover most of the basics here. So once you go in and you read all about the growth stages, you're going to go into each of the core competencies, and we're asking that you, again, review them. So in each of the core competencies, what you'll see is the name of the competency, and then you'll see a definition. So this describes the competency. So for example, here the competency is advocacy. And advocacy is the desire and determination to champion a cause or issue and try to get others to support it. It recognizes the importance of amplifying the voices of person or family and creating space for them to advocate on their own behalf. I also wanted to point out something really, really important is that we did a lot of focus groups. We got a lot of input from people when we're making these changes. So there was a lot of really important input. And one of them was specifically around this advocacy competency. In the previous core competencies, the competency was called advocating for others. And we heard loud and clear that it was really about amplifying the voices of the people that we support. So we really felt really strongly about making that change, and that's reflected in this new this new competency. So then once you read the definition, then you really start to go into, again, looking at each of the growth levels as they pertain to that competency. So when we look at the emerging stage, so when you're in the emerging stage of advocacy, you're really looking at, these are some of the behaviors, what we call behavioral indicators. So first, you're recognizing when advocacy needs to happen. You identify factors that may impact the person. You understand the barriers or opportunities for the person or the group, and so on and so on. So again, at this emerging stage, these are the behaviors that that person is displaying, or the behavioral indicators that they are showing. And then what we've done as well is we have some videos. I don't know if I have time to go into the videos, but there's, throughout the core competencies dictionary, you'll again see videos that have scenarios that really show show good examples of that competency at that stage. So they're built in throughout the core competency dictionary as well. And then what we wanted to do as well is there's an opportunity for folks to download the entire dictionary because we recognize that some people really like that paper, having a paper copy. So this is the dictionary that has all of the 10 core competencies at all of the growth stages. So that's available for people to download. So the way the module works is that people would again go through all of the 10 competencies, they'd watch the videos, they'd review all the growth stages. And we always say, you know, this whole package is a journey. It's not meant to do all the modules in one sitting. You know, it's really, you know, it would be really good to start with this introduction to core competencies as a beginning step. So as people are reviewing, they've read all of the core competencies, then they'll have the opportunity to take a quiz. So again, just to test the knowledge there. So in the quiz, what happens is you'll see there's a scenario, and the user will then read the scenario, and then they'll look at they could even pull out their dictionary and say, you know what, I think that scenario reflects someone building relationships at the evolving stage. And so I'm going to check oh, no, actually it's resilience at the emerging stage, and it gives you the reasons why. And then you just go on to the next question. Just so you guys know, when Anne talked about little bugs in the system, we're working on this. So it's going to be fixed by tomorrow. So it'll run to the next question. So right now, if you go in there, it just kind of shows the one question. But by tomorrow, the developers are fast at work trying to fix it so that it goes on to the next question automatically. So that is the intro to core competency section. So then after people have reviewed, they've done their quiz, then they could do the option of doing a self-assessment. Okay, so this, and I just wanted to note that I'm already logged in, but that first module is open for everyone, so you don't have to log in. As you get into these other three areas, the self-assessment, the coaching, the behavioral-based interviewing, then you're going to have to create a login. And what this does is it allows the system to save your previous information from your self-assessment. So it just allows you to save, and it also collects your email information so that you could email your mentor, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. So the way the self-assessment works is, again, folks would come in and they would read the instructions. So, you know, the purpose of the self-assessment is for you to determine what stage of competency you're at by looking at examples from your personal experiences. So this isn't a checklist, a self-assessment. This is really looking at people diving in, thinking about their professional experiences, and then meeting with a mentor to talk about it and to form a development plan. So what we also recommend too is that when people are doing a self-assessment, they're not looking at a self-assessment for all 10 competencies, that they're starting with one or two, just so that they could focus on that, and then they move on to a new competency. So let's start with, I can show you an example of the self-assessment for the advocacy competency. So when you click in here, you'll go to a page. Again, all of the self-assessments, folks, will start at the emerging stage. So it gives you the definition again. It gives you what the behavioral indicators are at that stage. And you're going to start your self-assessment. And on this page, then, it will give you instructions on how to go through the self-assessment. So the first piece of the first element would be to, again, review the behavioral indicators for that competency. So you're going to review them again. You could watch the video again, and then you're going to go to the next stage. So again, because what you're doing, what you're wanting to do is show an example of your professional experience that demonstrate that behavior at that stage, you're going to, at this point, excuse me, you're going to write an example or a scenario where you demonstrated those behaviors. And what we've done as well is we've given some considerations, so some helpful tips around how to write that behavioral example, and really utilizing that whole notion of the STAR model, which is what we're going to get into a little bit more. It really aligns with how behavioral-based interviewing is conducted. So again, looking at that STAR model, thinking about what was the situation, what was the task, what were your results, and nope, we got it the wrong way. What were your actions and what were your results? I tell you, every time I go on the website, I find a little tweak. So we're going to move that around. So it's actually what the situation, what the task, what the action, and what the results was. So we'll make that note for me to fix. So so the person would put in their experience here, whatever that might be. I'm just going to put a little test, and then again, it's going to take them back to the behavioral indicator. So they're going to think about that experience. They're going to think about it, and they're going to say, you know what? That experience shows that it identified factors that impacted the person. It understood the barriers. Maybe it didn't recognize the significance of personal experiences, but it shows these other behavioral indicators. So I've got most of them. So I'm going to go next here. So now we want to validate. So we've written our example. We've looked at what kind of behavioral indicators are connected to it, at what stage. Now I want to go and I want to talk to my supervisor. I want to talk to my mentor. So I'm going to click complete here. And again, it brings you to this page where it kind of guides you through the next steps, where you can email the results. So it's going to email it to you. So what it's going to do, it's going to send you an email with your example, with what level you're at, what stage you're at, and what behavioral indicators you checked off. And then what you can do is then you can go and you can meet with your coach, your mentor, your supervisor, the family you work for, whoever that might be. And you can have a conversation with them. You have a conversation with them. You talk about your example. You talk about where you think you are, what growth stage, and then your supervisor, through that discussion, you confirm, okay, yes, you are at that evolving or emerging stage. So once you do that, you confirm the stage. Again, you confirm. And then great. So what happens at this point? Users can generate a badge for when they complete each stage. And then once they've done that as well, if they want to get to that next stage. So now I'm at emerging and I want to get to the evolving stage. So what can I do? So then that's really about creating that professional development plan. And that goes through that, again, that coaching relationship and developing that plan together. And I'm going to show you that in the next module. But this resource guide is a really great way of helping to look at activities to assist you with developing to that next growth stage. So for example, now we come back to advocacy. On the left, we have the behavioral indicators. And now on the right, we have activities that you could do to help you to grow to get to that next stage. So for example, here, pick a topic that you would like to advocate for and determine a key message. You would like to communicate, make a list of 5 facts to support your key message. Another idea could be identifying people you think are good at advocating and ask them for advice on how to advocate, make notes on their advice. So you see, these are some tips and some ideas in terms of how to create a development plan and help you move to that next growth stage. So that's all through the development resource guide. So basically with the self-assessment as well. So then, and then when you complete a growth stage, again, you can generate a badge. The other thing as well, I wanted to point out on the whole assessment page is there's also this growth chart that really just gives you a snapshot of what core competencies you're working on, what you've completed, and what stages again you're on, and your next row. So it really it gives you a really fulsome picture of your growth journey. So I know that's a lot. And I just really wanted to mention too, and Anne's going to talk about this, is this isn't the first and only time we're talking about this. We're going to have opportunities for us to come together to talk about, to problem solve, to learn what others are doing around this work, how they're utilizing, how they're implementing. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But I just wanted, again, this is a bit of a snapshot, and it's really for folks to go in and to take a peek around and to see how it fits in with your own organization. So now we've gone through the self-assessment. So remember I talked a bit about the coaching. So now, you're confirming with your coach, but now we wanted to give tools and resources for that coach to help you in your professional development. So this section is really for, again, those supervisors, those families that are hiring, those people that are managing other folks. So this is around how to coach. So again, the user would come in, they would watch a video, they would watch this video here. There's tips for a coaching session in this section. There's I know Indu really wants me to show the discussion planner. So again, this is for the coach to help to plan those coaching meetings with their staff. So there's some really great information on this discussion planner. It really helps, and some forms and such to really help you to plan those meetings. So that's part of the coaching section. And then last but not least, we all love the behavioral-based interviewing section. So when you go into this section here, it's broken up into two areas. So you have first the section that I'm hiring someone. So this is for the HR, for the supervisors, for the families that are hiring someone. And then you have the section here that for folks that are looking for a job. So let's go, when you go into the I'm hiring someone, firstly, what you're going to do is you're going to watch, there's actually 3 videos. So there's the behavioral-based interviewing. Behavioral-based interviewing is so robust. So there's a lot of information. So we broke it up into 3 videos. So there's part 1, there's part 2, and then you'll see a 3rd video here as well. So again, the user would go in, they would learn about behavioral-based interviewing, they would learn about coding, they would learn about probing, they'd learn about all that fun stuff. And then once they do all that, then there's some additional resources on this page. So the first being how to conduct an interview. And we've also included a downloadable interview guide. So this guide, again, talks about the behavioral-based interviews. It talks about what you should do before the interview, at the interview. It gives you, again, a bit of a template for filling out, for asking questions. So for example, here's an example question around advocacy, and then it breaks it down again into that STAR model, and it helps you in terms of how to probe and code, etc. So again, this is available as a PDF, downloadable PDF on the website. Also, in this section around how to conduct an interview, you're going to see there's multiple videos that again give examples of a good interview, the redirecting to the I statement, that prompting versus probing, the probing for intention. So again, some really good scenarios that really help to reinforce that learning around conducting an interview. And then in the section here around identifying codable data, you have some exercises again with some scenarios or some questions. So for example, here's a question. I thought I thought they'd be put off by a suit and briefcase. So I walked into the plant in short sleeves carrying a clipboard. Is that codable? Yes or no? So so there's some questions here, and then there's an answer key as well. So again, just helping you to again build that skill around how to code interviews. And then last but not least, on this section, you have some sample questions. So, so here, are some sample behavioral-based questions around advocacy. So tell me about a time when you advocated for an idea, position, or approach, blah, so again, they're just samples, but we found that people really like to utilize these examples and make them their own as well. So these are all throughout all of the 10 core competencies. You'll see some sample questions. So that's the section around I'm hiring someone. And then in the module, again, there's the I'm looking for a job. So this is for the job seeker. It could be, again, people starting out in the field. It could be students. We just presented on Friday to the for the We Inspire conference, which was the DSW students from across the province, really recommending this for them as they're preparing as they're getting out there and they're interviewing, so that they're prepared for that behavioral-based interviewing. So this is really, again, the user would go in and they would use this opportunity to learn about the STAR method or the STAR model and how to prepare for a behavioral-based interview. So again, recommended for folks to go in here. Just a little note, because I think STAR was backwards. I don't know why we went right to results. So we went situation, task, results, action, but it should be situation, task, action, results. So if you notice anywhere on the website, if you notice a little like Easter egg, I'm going to call them, let me know and I'll send you a chocolate bar because there might be little ones here and there as we go, but we're again continuously reviewing and continuously making these adjustments to the website. So I think and again, really apologize. I know that's really quick, but again, just want people not to feel overwhelmed, that really it's about taking a look on it, going on the website, really looking at your organization, and then taking an opportunity to come to our check-ins and learn from each other. So I'm going to hand it over to Holly to talk a little bit more about implementation and tips for agencies and families.
All right. So the awesome thing about the website is that it enables anyone at any point to go in and access the training at a time that works for them. So you don't have to wait for a scheduled training session. They can access the intro to core competencies, their self-assessment. They can access the behavior-based interview training whenever is meaningful and relevant to them. And there's lots of other tools and resources that they can access at the right time. But we don't want to leave it for everybody just to access on their own. We would really like to encourage agencies to think about how they're going to create a culture that recognizes and develops the core competencies of their workforce with intention. So we know from when we rolled out the core competencies before, so those of you who might remember that or have core competencies in their agencies, you may already have some ideas of ways to embed core competencies into your HR practice and your organizational culture. You might remember what worked really well last time, and you can build on that learning. But some of the tips we'd like to give to agencies or remind agencies about is the idea of co-designing your implementation. So as opposed to having a top-down kind of mandate to do this, to work with either your union or your labor relations or your joint staff management committees and to have different perspectives and roles on that committee to implement or design an implementation that considers all different perspectives in rolling out the core competencies in your organization. Also, to be intentional and thoughtful about your communication, develop a plan and roll out communication right from the beginning that explains why you're doing this, the importance of doing this, what this means for your organization, the benefits to it, and to, you know, think about the who, what, why, where, when in your communication, and to have a plan, a thoughtful and intended plan for your communication about core competencies. And to also have a mechanism for getting feedback from your workforce to think, to get some feedback about what's working, what's not working, what are people loving and really celebrating, and what is causing frustration, so that you can address that within with your implementation plan and team. And then finally, of course, to celebrate success. I see all kinds of wonderful things on Facebook of how agencies are celebrating successes in their organization, how they're celebrating their employees. So to think about how you can encourage and celebrate core competencies within your organization, the core competencies that your employees are already demonstrating in the ways that your organization already celebrates success, and maybe come up with some new ways to celebrate success and to celebrate core competencies and implementation in your organization. And of course, we've talked about the behavior-based interviewing and the professional development plans. Those resources are on the website. So to think about how you embed that knowledge and resources into your recruitment and growth strategies. A lot of you may already have interview tools and professional development plans, all that stuff, but maybe you can look at the resources there and ensure that the core competencies are embedded into your current practices, or think about what you might use from these and update your current practices, whatever makes sense for your organization. And of course, as we were going through and developing the core competencies under the umbrella of Journey to Belonging, we were very mindful that whatever tools, whatever core competencies we developed, whatever language we used, whatever tools and resources we made available, they had to be relevant for families who are hiring their own workers as well. So hopefully you'll see in the website that the language reflects that. And you'll find that the core competencies are relevant to you as a family member hiring an employee as well. So we encourage you to look at the core competencies, see if you can include them in your job postings and your recruitment strategies as a family. Consider using the behavior-based interview material. There's great questions that you might be able to use in interviewing people to work with your loved one. So we encourage you to review those resources that are available. And when you have hiring people to work with your loved one, you may want to also think about ways to help identify growth opportunities for them. And there's tools for that on the website through the developmental resource guide as well. So we just wanted to make sure that families knew that this there's an intention for them to use these resources as well.
Perfect. And before you go to the next, what's up next, I just wanted to mention, because I'm getting emails from folks who are already on the site and they're already logging in. So on the site, when you log in, it says you should be getting confirmation email. Folks aren't necessarily getting that email, but they're still able to log in. I'm gonna let the developers know, but you are still, so just if you are setting up a login, just continue to do so and just try again to log in. You just might not get that email confirmation, but I'll again indicate this to the developers. Oh, and someone just said it was in their promotions folder, so it might be going into your spam or other folders as well. Okay.
Wow, come on. Is this not cool or what? I've been around for a long time and I've yet to see something that is going to allow consistency in the province of Ontario in developmental services. I've been hanging out long enough to see many of us doing our own gig within our own organizations, which is wonderful, and many have done core competencies, but this is a way that we can actually work across the province, and that there's expectations when you even go from one organization to another that can be consistent. Families can also look at hiring that best person for their child or adult child. So I must admit, this is, you know, it is all unbelievable. But again, there's going to be glitches, and what we need is your feedback, and we certainly need to hear from you and your ideas. So what we are looking at is, when it comes to a communications plan for is something in the rollout, of course, we want to make sure that we do it in slow stages. Everyone has the opportunity to go in and do that intro to core competencies. So whether you're an executive director and think that you're already at that influencer stage or not, you all can go into the core competency intro and just familiarize yourselves, because it is important, and you get a little bit of a gist with that. And again, I think if everyone does that, then again, you can, people who choose to go further, organizations that are going to encourage it can move from there. But what is important is that we want you to play, right? For lack of a better, play for a while, and please record any glitches that you come across. But also, what we want to do is, starting in January, we're going to do what we call monthly check-ins. And at those monthly check-ins, core competency check-ins, we had a few other names for it, but check-in is what we've come up with at this point in time. So anyway, but what we want to do is share our experiences, right? Share our life experiences, share our learning experiences, and really, really work out some of the glitches, but also work together. We're going to do that for about 6 months is what we're kind of looking at right now. And again, anyone, family networks, family members, anyone can join in on them, and we'll be sending out the information accordingly. By mid-January, we will have gone through the holidays, maybe have more time for playing, so we can start with the feedback. But from there, what is important is to get your ideas on how we can continue with our communication. And one of the suggestions is that maybe we do regional check-ins, right? If you, again, formerly known as the DSHR strategy, we used to have champs, right, that were all across the province. This is a very different way of doing core competencies. It's very, again, going back to the individualized and person-centered, but also it's not a day of training, right? So maybe if we do something regionally as a group is something we'll encourage. We are going to continue with doing presentations. I do know that something's coming up. I think it's in December. I can't remember, but I know I'm going on it. And I think that's so all of the regional offices, all of your program supervisors are going to get this. That we want no disconnect at all. Ministry has been partnering with us through this entire process. And that's what's important, is that everyone obviously knows about it, knows how to work through it. Quite frankly, it can kind of be even used in the ministry. If you think about it, it's core competencies, which are soft skills. So that might be very useful, because I'm sure they're having recruitment issues just the same as we are. However, I think what's important though is for us to work together as to how we can get this information out there. I also just want to take a moment to talk about, I know one question you're going to think, or I think going to come through, is does this platform match an LMS system that you may have in your organizations? At this time, it does not. However, we have the badge system. So, and for some of you, it's like being able to know that someone I'm supporting in their career plan, how do I know for sure they've gone through it? But again, that badge system can be useful, because you could always send the badge to HR, and the HR keeps the badge on, or a family member can hang on to the badge so that they know that the worker has received so many badges. So we are still going to be working through that, because again, the dream would be to have all LMS systems also compatible with this. So we're going to also continue with other future partner presentations. And if any of you out there feel that there's an opportunity, please let us know. So thanks, everyone.